Koliko dugo?
Pa ono, minimum nekih 40 minuta.
Budiš malo, pa okej, aj vidit ćemo kako će ići. Ako budeš dosadan, rećemo ti da si dosadan i da malo ubrzaš.
Pa daj, nemam izrezati. Ja se to potrudim i vi tako.
A zašto ti ne bi krenio prvi kad imaš tako dugačku prezentaciju?
Ne bi htio ići zadnji, kužiš, šećer na kraju to.
Šećer na kraju. Okej. Hoćeš ti onda prvi? Ili Kristijan? Kristijan, je li ti okej da ideš ti prvi?
Da, okej, može.
Okej. U biti, šta hoćemo najaviti lagano? Koji su nam ovo toksi?
6.
Q&A, možete vidjeti, ne vidiš Q&A? Ok, mislim da možemo krenuti. Stoja. Kaj je ovo? Ko bi ovo uvesti? Gdje se okrenem ovako tamo? Sad sam lijepo. Ok, ćemo krenuti? Može. Hi guys, my name is Nikola and you're looking at 6 Android talks. You can see Vitas in the background. Vitas, wave. Yeah! Woo. Okay, so today we have three lectures and we are going to start with Kristijan. Kristijan is currently in Pula. Kristijan, right?
Yeah, I'm in Pula.
So you're in Pula and you will be talking about Gradle plugins. I think we can start, right?
Okay.
Okay, you take over.
Okay, great. So this lecture is about Gradle plugins. Everyone should know what Gradle is by now, since Google introduced it in the last year's I/O. So basically, we're gonna talk about Gradle plugins. There is a lot of stuff which you can do with Gradle. By example, we have one application that with which we deploy our applications to the clients, and that application requires metadata in our Android manifest, so we could notify the users about new updates of their application. So this of Gradle plugin which I developed. So let's start. When developing Gradle plugin, you can choose one of three packaging types. Basically, build script is your build.gradle, in which you can type some kind of code task which will run when you build your project. Same as build source, only the build source is placed in the project root in the path that you can see on the screen. Basically, these two packaging types have their downfall, since you cannot reuse the code. Basically, if you put it in the build Gradle, you can use it only in that project. You can use it in another project if you copy paste it, which is not really good. So we are going to focus on standalone project. Basically, standalone project is a separate project through which you can build jar. And
Lost you?
Or whatever repository where you can pull it down in any project that you are coding.
Kristijan, could you check? I think your screen sharing is off or something like that.
Okay. Hi.
Yeah, I can check that now.
Can you see it now?
Yeah, now it's fine.
Okay. Okay, so we'll create file tree with these two commands, and we'll create two files, which is our build Gradle and our settings Gradle. I think everyone understands these two commands for making directories with parents. On the right, you can see the file tree which is created by those two commands and with these two touch commands. I'll start talking about plugin ID. On previous screen, you could notice that on here, under the resources, meta Gradle plugins is labs.properties. That is actually our plugin ID. So plugin ID is used to shorten the plugin name, something like alias. In the labs.properties goes just one line. Implementation class, which is CO Infinum labs plugin. So when we apply the plugin to our other project, we don't have to use the whole name. We'll just use apply and string labs. This is CO Infinum labs plugin is actually a class which has to implement a plugin project. This is a must. From that interface, we will just implement one method, which is apply, and that method will run as soon as we write apply our plugin in the Gradle of the build Gradle of the project that we are coding. So settings Gradle is just a dummy file which tells us which is the root project name. If we were having few other modules, then we would write an include statements for all of them, and we would specify a root project name, which is in our case labs. So to start developing our plugin, we'll just need some dependencies, which is Gradle API and the local Groovy. We also included Maven so that we can build our project and upload our Hive to our local repository, through which we can test the imports in another project. Two lines are actually pretty important, group and version. This is something that Maven which will know what to take from the repository when you're importing your plugin in another project. Labs plugin is our main file. As I said before, you just have to implement apply method. Basically, it has extensions Groovy because we are coding it in Groovy. Groovy is actually kind of main language which Gradle uses. You can also, no one actually forces you to use Groovy. It's just that he is the best supported. You can.
Could you just zoom in on things that you're talking about, because you haven't started this full screen, so we're kind of struggling to see.
Yeah, sorry.
Just zoom in on things that you're talking about.
Like this? Okay. So basically, we have labs plugin. We have a method apply, and as I said before, we have to implement just this one method in order for plugin to work. Main parameter is project. This is the project that you are applying your plugin into. So with this parameter, you get all the properties that your project has in its build Gradle. So basically, you can also define your configuration in that build Gradle of your external project, which you will pass on to your plugin. This is done with as you can see on line 15, project extensions create. We pass it on the string under which your configuration is written in your project, like what is visible on. And under the labs, we have two variables which we are passing to our plugin. Actually, then we are mapping our labs config to the. This actually you have extensions project, so you can access that config through project.labs, like it's written on line 19. And if the condition is met, we'll run our tasks. Basically, we cannot run the code that we want immediately, so we have to create the task for it. On line 7 is our task, and it's added to that project that in which we are using the plugin. Okay, let me zoom out a bit. Okay, so basically when we in our project, we have to use it since we don't have Maven repository. We have to build it first. So by simple command, which we defined in our build Gradle of the plugin, we can just execute Gradle upload archives, which will build the jar, and it will create two directories, which is Maven repo. This is a string which we defined also in the build Gradle, and the build directories which Gradle defines itself. In the build directory, it's all the classes, libraries, jars, resources, etc. While in the Maven, it defines metadata through which it knows that which kind of version do you want and the code that it will pull. So we can now use the plugin in our project. To use it, we have to define the class path, and we have to define the Maven repository from which we are pulling it. So since we have the local Maven repository, we'll specify the URI, and we'll add the class path to our project. To add the class path, you have to know the group name, as you saw before, the alias of the project, and the version. So group name and version are defined in our build Gradle of the plugin, and labs is the alias that we mentioned before, or the plugin ID. To see how we can build, to see how we can upload to central. Andrew talked before. Dino was talking about it a bit. He was actually talking about AR, but the procedure is pretty much the same. So we have our project build Gradle. To apply the plugin, we have to define line apply plugin labs, and we have to define the configuration. Since we okay, so our application is using build number to incremental build number. Since this task depends on the project and the flavors, we just created the task within the plugin, and that task is added to our project through that plugin. So we have to define on which other task it will depend on. So, for example, if I want to depend on the bug build variant, then I will append my task to assemble debug, and it will increment my number only when this task is executed. And that's pretty much it. To reach to see all the tasks, you can execute command line, which is Gradle tasks, and it will give you the list of all the tasks that you can run on this project. So that would be it. Are there any questions?
Do you have any questions, guys? Okay. Okay, Kocijan. Oh, Vitas has a question.
Okay.
Hey, where did you go to upload it to Maven? You can do it normally without it too, or what?
What? I'm
Why,
sorry.
why did you choose to go through the whole process uploading it to Maven? I suppose you can use this plugin locally too.
Yeah, you can use it locally. You can just import the jar or something in the project and use it as normal library. I chose Maven because that's most supported in the Gradle and easier. It's most easiest to use.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay.
Okay. Who's next? Ivan? Okay. I think you can start. Just introduce yourself and find your presentation.
Okay, can I start? Hi guys, my name is Ivan Kocijan and I work as an Android developer here at Infinum. Today I'll be talking to you about Log4j. It's really great and lightweight library for logging, and we'll go through how to set it up and how to log something. It will be very simple and it won't take much time. So first, why would we use Log4j? Because it's possible to enable login at runtime. You can enable it, disable it, change log levels, and pretty much everything. Log statements can stay in production APK without incurring a heavy performance cost. Of course, I don't know if that's smart, but it won't have any. You won't have any performance issues if you just leave it there. It gives you the detailed context for application failures. And the target of the log output can be a file, an output stream, a writer, or some kind of remote server. It gives you ability to automatically back up the log file, and you can choose how many backups do you want. One thing, why did we start even to use this? Because the application that we deployed to our client did not have internet access. So Crashlytics was not the option, since it has to work on internet. It relies on internet connection. So next, we won't use Log4j directly. On the last slide, you can check out why. It has a detailed explanation why you can't use Log4j directly in Android. That's why we will use Android logging Log4j library, which is built on top of Log4j. It makes logging on Android very simple, and it keeps all Log4j features. So how would you add it? You need to add 2 lines of code to your build Gradle. You need to download the Android logging Log4j from Maven Central, and of course Log4j library. You have to set a manifest permission, because you won't know what's happening, and you'll think something is not working, and the only thing you don't have is a manifest permission. This you will need to add this if you're logging to a file. If you're logging only to a console or remote server, you won't need this. But today we'll be talking about logging to a file, so you need to add this permission to manifest. Okay. Next, you need to create a configuration class. This is actually the only class you need to create in order to use this library. This is the only thing you need to do. You can set the file name. You can set the maximum file size. Just can you zoom in just a little bit so that you can see? Okay, this file size, it's strange, but nowhere in documentation you can find in which unit is this. These are bytes, but you won't find this anywhere in Log4j documentation. So just remember it that the number here is in bytes. You can set the immediate flush, which will immediately append the log file to the log message to your log file. You can set the backup size, and of course the log level. Here we have a static method which takes as a parameter, it takes log level. So you need to create a new object of log configurator and then set a file name. Here we are saving the log file in our root directory and under the file name Infinum text. You set the root level. You set the max file size, immediate flush, and the number of backups you want to store. When the file size reaches the maximum backup size, it will back up your current file and create a new one. So it's easy. It's, how do you call it? Rollback, right? On web. Log rotation, right? That's called log rotation. And then call configure. After that, just a second. You can log anything you want. It's very simple. Just somewhere in your application, call configure method and set its log level. This is great because you can have a picker dialog and the user can check which log level he wants in runtime. So in runtime you can set error, you can set debug, info. We'll go through log levels later. Then call logger and get root logger and just log the error. That's all you need to do. This will log the error in your file. The output will look like this. The time when the log happened, log level. This is the name of your logger. This is the fully qualified name of your Java class where this happened. And this will be your log message. We logged something in here. You can also...
What's the relation between log.error and this .error?
What do you mean, .error?
How do you define this .error method?
Is defined in... These levels are defined in root logger. It has error, debug, info.
So the levels are predefined?
Yeah, the levels are predefined. Yeah, that's the downside. You cannot add your own levels.
Oh.
But no. So you can create a custom logger, which means you can have multiple loggers in your application and order them by name. For example, here we are calling the configure method, and we call get logger and name him. This is my logger. In our current implementation, we called. Just let me go back. Why doesn't? We called get root logger, so it returned the root logger to us. This returns the logger named this is my logger, and the output looks like this. It's pretty much the same as the last one. The only thing is this is no more root. This is my logger. Its name. One awesome feature of Log4j is that you need to configure only root logger. When you configure your root logger, it will configure all of its childs. So this logger is a child of root logger. So if root logger is configured, it will take its configuration and set it himself. But if you want to set explicitly only this logger, so you call get logger set level and give him the name of the logger. It's really simple. This is a singleton instance, so also one thing I forgot to say here, when you call configure, you can see that this is a void method. It returns nothing. And you call configure, so how is this logger configured? If you go to source code, you'll find out that configure actually calls get root logger, and it sets the parameters to root logger. Since get root logger is a singleton instance, when you set it one time, it will always be the same. And these are some log levels that you can set. You can set it to off, not logging anything, fatal, error, warn, info, debug, trace, and you can set all. Of course, if you set error, you will only catch error, fatal. If you set info, you'll catch info, warn, error, and fatal. If you set all, you will check them all. The next thing, Log4j 2. This is still in beta, so we didn't use it on our projects. It's still not reliable, but it has some cool features. It has an API separation, so the core is separated from Logger API. This will enable them a plugin architecture. So it sounds cool, and I hope that it will work. It has some improved import in performance and a lot more. You can check more on their website. And you can see here some resources I used, so check them out and find out more if you want. And that's actually it. Any questions?
Okay, so I think you mentioned that you can log everything in a file. Željko, can you hear me? You said that I should talk.
Yes, it's okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, it's okay.
Okay, Željko is gone. Doesn't matter. You mentioned that you can log to the file. Is there an option? Well, there are times when we want to upload the log file to remote server. Is there something that we could use some Log4j Apache model or something that we could install to get this logging out of the box on remote server?
I didn't have enough time to check it out, but as I can see, it's not just out of the box. It has some configuration necessary. So.
Okay, it's not a problem if we need to configure something on the server. I think there were times when we needed that kind of functionalities, when we wanted to gather remote logs, and we used some packaging hack methods, and some PHP scripts that were appending some things to a text file. If possible, it would be great if we could use something like this.
Yeah, we have to check it out. Well,
okay,
I think it's possible. Especially in
volunteering.
Yeah, of course. Always.
Okay, great. So I suggest that you voluntarily check if we can use this to remote log something. I don't care if it's Log4j 2 version 2. Doesn't matter. We can even probably use that. I doubt it's that unstable.
Yeah, I'm not sure how it works with Android, since Log4j 1 does not work directly with Android. Some classes are clashing in some package, I don't know.
Okay, I suggest we check it out and get back to us.
Okay.
Okay, do we have any more questions? Okay, then I think we're done with this. Željko, are you ready?
Hello, do you hear me?
Yes, we hear. Could you just mute your
mic? Just a second.
Just mute your mic. Okay. Željko, I think you can start.
Okay. So, hello, my name is Željko. I'm an Android developer at Infinum, Slovenia, and today I will talk a little bit about Facebook for Android API, which has been a pain in my ass for the last few weeks. So we can start with today's presentation. Here is the scope. So at the beginning, I'll provide some brief introduction. Then we will talk about prerequisites for Facebook development. Then we will look a little bit to common Facebook API actions, talk a little bit about Graph API, custom stories, Facebook insights, and in the end we'll provide a brief conclusion. So for introduction, you probably all know what Facebook is. You probably all have at least one Facebook account so you can stalk your ex-girlfriends. So we can define that the Facebook is the world's largest social network with more than 1 billion users. By latest statistics, about 60% of this number is in fact human users, and about 40 to 50% of these users interacts with Facebook on a daily basis. So they exchange some information to Facebook every day. They upload some photos, share some content, and stuff like that. So if you see so basically Facebook processes about 1 billion of gazillion of million megabytes of information per day, and we can actually say that Facebook is the world's largest repository of personal information. And what's even more interesting, Facebook is open access repository, so everyone can check this information. Why should we use Facebook? For obtaining information about our users, so that we don't have to prompt them for their names, surnames, and stuff like that. Then we can use it as an authentication system for our applications. We can export information from our applications to Facebook, like we can upload photo from our application to our users' Facebook wall. So basically, we want to use it to attract new users because everybody and everything is today on Facebook. So let's talk a little bit about prerequisites. So you have to obtain active Facebook account. Registration is free of charge, so do it like now. You need to download official Facebook for Android SDK. Current version is 3.15.0 and it's official not in Maven, but you can find unofficial forks of this library. But I strongly advise you to always use official version because of some reasons that we will talk later during this presentation. And all applications have to be registered on Facebook, and we need to provide some basic info. We can look at my demo application, which I made for today's presentation. So for application details, you have to provide information like tagline, long description, short description, category, support email, app icons, banners, and stuff like that. If you want your application to be listed in Facebook's App Center, you need to submit you need to submit these app details for review. But we will talk a little bit about this later. So okay, now you have downloaded Facebook SDK and you want to look at some common Facebook actions. So at first we'll look at Facebook login, then we will look at how to post to users wall and how to read users data. So Facebook login, all applications must implement Facebook login, which is based on OAuth 2.0 authentication protocol, which provides us with session management. And by implementing Facebook login, we obtain a set of default permissions. And now we're probably thinking, what the heck are permissions? So due to the personal nature of using informations which are stored in Facebook, Facebook has developed a complex schema for accessing personal data. This basically means that informations are categorized in different categories, and in order to access information from one category, you need to obtain permissions from their owners, which are basically the users of our application. Permissions can be requested at any time during your application's workflow. And by default, with login, you obtain 3 basic permissions: email, public profile, and user friends. These are basically pretty much basic and simple informations. So you obtain information about user's email, which you already know because you have implemented Facebook login. Public profile provides you with info about user's name and surname, and user friends is just a list of user friends. Here we can see the set of permissions. All these permissions are, so we have two kinds of permissions. We have read permissions and write permissions. By latest refactor of permissions, all write permissions are now categorized inside publish actions permissions. So,
could you zoom in a little bit so we can see?
Okay.
We're on a projector, so yeah.
It's better now.
Nope. Just zoom in with the pinch gesture.
Okay.
No, you're just moving your screen.
Second.
Just use pinch gesture.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the list of users' permissions. So in example, if you want to obtain I don't know, list of users education, you have to obtain user education permission. If you want to obtain user photos, you need to obtain user photos permission, and you can see where I'm going. As I said before, publish action is pretty much the most important permission because it provides you with right permissions so you can post something to our users' Facebook wall. Okay, so we can move forward. Now when we have implemented the Facebook plugin, we want to post to users' walls. So we basically want to export some information from our application to users' Facebook wall, like write comment, upload pictures, share some links and stuff like that. And this should be easy. But as Grumpy Cat says, how about no? Because in fact we have two basic cases, and this third case can also be important. So we can post users wall by using native Facebook application. Then we can use web dialog and with background request by using Graph API. So the first case, we want to post the user's wall by using native Facebook for Android application. At first, we need to check if our user has installed Facebook application. Luckily, the SDK provides us with function can present share dialog, which returns true in case user has installed application, and false if it hasn't. Then we have two dialogues. We have share dialog and photo share dialog. The main difference between them is that with share dialog, you can only share some content which is already on the web, like some articles or web pages. And with photo share dialog, you can upload photo from your user's smartphone. No additional permissions are needed for this case because user has to manually confirm publish action. We can look at this at the demo application. I'll just zoom it a little bit. So after we log into the application with Facebook account, it is slow because I have to use default Android emulator because of the REM architecture. So this should be okay, just a little bit more, just a little bit more. Okay. Just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. Okay, so this is the example of share dialog with Facebook native application, which is already installed on this device. So we will just share some content somewhere from the internet, and our users can write some comment. And this comment cannot be pre-filled. You have absolutely no action to modify this comment because it's strictly forbidden. And yes, okay. And this is the example of photo share dialog, which is basically used to upload some photo which is already present on device. So that's pretty much it. Then we have a second user case, which is upload with web dialog, and we use it when the Facebook for Android application is not present on device. Once again, no additional permissions are needed because our user has to manually confirm publish action. We can once again look at it. So as you can see, the main difference is that this will upload content to Facebook wall by using some ugly, old school, old-fashioned web dialog, which can pretty much have negative influence on your user's experience. So please use this case if all other options are already, if there is no other options. Okay, so just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. Okay, so this is the web dialog. As you can see, it has some old iOS design and it's ugly, and I don't want to use it in my applications. I would rather just say to user, okay, please install Facebook for Android before you can post something to use as well, and that's it. Okay, so the third case is applications can post automatically to users wall by using Graph API requests, which are not visible to the end user. But in order to use this feature, our application has to be submitted for Facebook review. And what the heck are you talking about? What is the Facebook review? In order to use advanced features of Facebook, like background right to wall, custom stories, and etc., our applications have to be submitted for Facebook review. This basically means that you upload your application to their servers with your source code and brief description of your application's workflow. Then some testers on their side test your application. Their developers reverse engineer your application. They take a look at your source code. If your application is developed using Eclipse, they automatically declined it. If it's developed using Android Studio, it is automatically approved, and stuff like that. Applications have to comply with Facebook terms, which is in fact pretty hard to achieve because terms are very strict. I have an example of terms on the next slide, so we will take a brief look at it. All platforms are submitted to review. So if you're developing Android application and iOS application, which will use some common Facebook feature, both platforms are reviewed at once. And if one platform fails, the review will be declined. And every feature has to be reviewed. And even if you make some small modifications to already approved feature, you have to reapply for Facebook review, which lasts about 3 to 10 business days. So here we can look at Facebook terms. So if you want to upload photos from your user smartphone, these photos must be taken with an actual camera, and all photos must be original. So basically, you cannot upload photos which are downloaded from some server or which are presented in your application, which are present in your application by default. Then, if you want to tag some users, all tags must be manually added by our user. So in example, if you are using some high-tech face recognition algorithm, you cannot automatically tag users. Then user messages. This is the most important and most interesting thing. Users must personally write these messages. Basically, here we are talking about user comments. And even if users can control the message content, applications cannot pre-fill user messages. So basically, we cannot add anything to their comments, like hashtags or, I don't know, sentences like, this was developed by the greatest Android developer of them all, because Facebook will decline our review. All applications must use the latest versions of SDK, which is also a big problem because you cannot, because you can't use unofficial libraries which are on Maven, and official library is updated on weekly or on a weekly base, and as I said before, all applications must implement Facebook plugin. Here I have written a few of my advices to you developers who are still wanting to use Facebook API. All banners, icons, and screenshots have to be in exact dimensions. All banners need to contain application name. Please, please, please check for grammar errors, because they will review your application details. They will review your custom stories, and if you have small grammatical error, they will decline your review. You need to provide real application data. So, in example, if you provide fake developer's email, they will find out and they will decline your review. You need to remove all unnecessary restrictions from your application so their testers can test your application with more ease. And please, please do not cheat, because Facebook could disable your account and blacklist your application if you have done something which is strictly forbidden.
We were rejected for all of these reasons, right?
We were rejected for reason 1, reason 2, reason 3, and reason 5.
Okay.
So please learn something from my example. No, because you will be blacklisted if Facebook has approved your review, but then you modify your application in a way that it doesn't comply to Facebook terms. Okay, so
Can I ask a question?
yes, you can.
Do they disable your personal account or your developer account?
Could you please speak a little bit louder?
Yeah. Do you hear me now?
Yeah, okay.
Do they disable your personal Facebook account or they disable your developer account?
Your developer account.
Ah, okay.
And all applications, no, all applications which are presented on your developer account.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. But this is the final measure. You cannot be so stupid to come to this step. Okay. Okay, so now Facebook has reviewed our application, and now we can finally use Graph API. I have written few definitions what is Graph API, but basically it is an HTTP-based REST API which you can use to obtain data from your user's wall and to post to user's wall. So if it look at our demo application with Graph API, we obtain the name and surname of our user. Okay, and please be sure to ask for permissions, because if you want to obtain some data for which you don't have user permission, Facebook will return an error. Okay, Open Graph stories. In my opinion, this is the most important thing with Facebook API. We use Open Graph stories to share the things what we are doing with people we are doing them with and the places where they happen. So basically, we export some information from our applications, which will look something like this on users' timeline. So we have this beautiful form, which has all the necessary information. So we have the actor of story. We have action, which is in this case finished reading. We have the object, which is in this case the name of the book, and we have application name, which is in this case Goodreads. Okay, once again, this is the definition. We have two kinds of Open Graph stories. We have common actions and we have custom stories. Common actions are a set of predefined actions. An example like read a book, listen to music, or watch the video. And they don't need to be created, so you can just start publishing them. In the second case, we have custom stories, which are created solely for our applications. They have to comply with Facebook terms and must be reviewed on test user before they can be used in production. So the main difference is that with common story, with common action, you define action like read the book, and with custom story, you define an action like, I don't know, eat a cevapi, eat a burek, and something like that. Custom stories have capabilities, so we want to tag users, provide user messages, use generated photos, places. We need to ask for this capability when we are sending custom story to Facebook review. I didn't manage to implement this in demo application due to some problems with Facebook, which are presented in last 2 or 3 weeks. So I have just made a code snippet. So we define Open Graph object, we define Open Graph action, and post this to Facebook by using Facebook dialog. Okay, and in the end, we have Facebook Insights, which are used for collecting analytics. This is pretty much the same thing as Google Analytics and Flurry. Data are collected anonymously, and these statistics can be shared with other Facebook users. Here I have a screenshot of Facebook Insights for one demo application. So I don't know, we can see the number of new logins, number of API calls, number of monthly active users, and stuff like that. So in conclusion, Facebook can greatly increase user experience of your application, but it's not something that will be implemented in 15 minutes. To be honest, you will spend a lot of hours and a lot of time just analyzing and reading their documentation, which is full of bugs, which is missing basic examples, which is outdated, and which is pretty much crap. I don't have a better word. So please take my advice and integrate Facebook at the beginning of development process due to various reviews and problems which will occur during Facebook API development. And this is all for today. If you have some questions, please shoot.
Jacob, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, can you go back to Facebook graph snippet?
Facebook graph. This?
Yeah, that. I noticed that you're using a deprecated method here.
Yeah. This is the thing with Facebook SDK. Facebook developers which are developing Facebook SDK are bastards. They are constantly making modifications to SDK. They are constantly removing methods and constantly adding new methods to SDK, which are never documented or which are documented with few words or few sentences which you don't even notice when analyzing Facebook's documentation. So this method is presented in Facebook SDK 3.14.0 or 5, but in the newest Facebook SDK it is deprecated. So yeah, I should replace it, but I really don't know which is the right function for this action.
Yeah, thank God we never write undocumented code.
Yeah.
And we never remove methods. Yeah, those Facebook bastards. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bastards. Okay. Fuck backward compatibility. Okay, do we have any more questions? Okay, I have one question. Well, how can I use the my friends list? And can you, I don't know, talk a little bit on that? So I have a case where I want to know who of my friends has installed the application, and to be able to, I don't know, share some content with them. Can I find that out? You know what I mean? So
I know what you mean. I'm not sure, but I think that you cannot find out this application, this information, because
I see from time to time the Facebook suggests some apps to me that other users use, or when I think at some point I see, if I open the particular app, I can see who of my friends is using it. So is it possible to find it out in
I
our app?
believe I can check. I can check if there exists friends applications permission, so that you can obtain all the applications, all the Facebook applications which are your friends using. Then yes, it's possible. But I need to check if this permission is available, and do you need to review for application for that, because this could potentially be used for some spamming, and it could mess with security.
I had a question from a client. Okay,
Yeah.
we'll discuss that, but they want to find it out. You should talk in English if you are talking to Željko.
Željko, I think it's possible using GraphQL queries to send to request all friends who have installed too.
Yeah, so basically Graph API and FQL are the same thing, but Graph API is REST-based, FQL is something else. So everything what is possible in FQL is possible also by using Graph API, but I just need to check what are the prerequisites for using this permission. Do you need to review your application? Do you need to, I don't know, obtain some additional?
I don't mind if you have to review your application. It's fine. Could you check that and get back to me on that?
Okay, yes, you can.
That would be great. If possible, tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, great. Okay, do we have anything else to add?
Cool presentation, dude.
Okay, so we don't have anything else to add. Well, if that's the case, I think we're done for today, right? Okay, okay, guys. Thank you for watching, and I think we'll host another talks in about 2 months. I doubt we'll be doing them. I doubt we'll be doing that during the summer because now it's June, July, August. Yeah, I think the next one will be in September. I doubt we'll have one sooner. Yeah, and we have a new office. So this is Dino, Kristijan, our new cool office. We have Ian here and Maric. Not sure where the other guys. Okay. Thank you for your time and bye. Bye.